Hello and welcome to another Stat Rep. I am Tyler Bortel and I am joined by,
It's your boy Lucas Stroller.
and we are here with another rapid fire 40K battle report for you all here today. You guys liked the last TTS one, so we're bringing to you another hot and fresh TTS battle report here. We've got myself playing the Adeptus Mechanicus up against Lucas here on his creations of Bile.
Yes, sir.
This does technically take place before the data slate, but as neither of these armies were really touched by that at all, I think we're like nothing changes, right?
Pretty much.
Awesome. Cool. Let's get right into it. As far as armies are concerned, I am bringing my Pyro list essentially, not essentially, exactly my Pyro list. So that'll be 3 Skitarii Marshals, 2 Technoarcheologists, 10 Rangers, 40 Vanguard, 3 Dune Riders, 10-10-5 Sky Stalkers, 10-5-5 Sterilizers, 3 squads of 5 Sicarian Infiltrators, 10-5-5 Sicarian Infiltrators, and Draxus. And as you can see, we've already got that deployed on the left side here. We are playing Linchpin, Banners, Search, and Destroy. Got my Infiltrators infiltrating in some stage positions here, and this big squad lining up the center, hoping to go first for a big turn 1 move block against the Possessed. We've got the Draxus squad in this blue boat here, the Fire and Fade squad in the green boat here, a regular squad of the Marshal in the pink boat here, and this yellow squad here has my redeploy enhancement. Got a squad of 10 Sky Stalkers here, 2 squads of 5 Sterilizers up at the front of the flanks to go do some early skirmishing. Squad of 10 Rangers holding down the backfield for the time being. And got the rest in reserve. That'll be 10-5 of the Sky Stalkers, the 10 Sterilizers ready to either jump in and Fire and Fade for the Sky Stalkers or probably ingress and be aggressive with the Sterilizers. I'm hoping to be a little aggressive here. What do you got going on, Lucas?
Nice. Yeah. So I've been experimenting a little bit with creations of Bile lately, taking a little bit of a variant of Anthony's list that he won that GT with a couple months back. I sacrificed the dogs in exchange for a little more MSU and a lot more character punching power. So you've got 3 Chaos Lords in this list. They make great use out of all 3 of the offensive buffs, and they are leading Legionnaries, so the +2 move will be excellent for them. So they really like 4 out of the 6 buffs for Bile, and they don't mind +1 toughness as well. One of them obviously is the prime test subject, and the other 2 are just naked. I have given them both the hammer and the fist. I've got Cypher in this list, and I've got Fabius as well, of course. He has to be the Warlord. 2 squads of 10 Cultists. I really like that second squad for additional screening, and just, it's Battle Line. Battle Line does matter. It's cheap OC you can throw, and the CSM Cultists can start in Rhinos. So they've been a great unit. I've got 3 squads of 5 Legionaries, standard loadout, except I do replace the last cannon with an extra Chainsword, just because I almost never find myself shooting the last cannon. I've got 2 Rhinos. I've got 1 squad of 5 Terminators with the standard kit, 1 squad of 5 Chosen with the standard kit, 10 Possessed, 2 squads of 5 Possessed, 5 Raptors, and 5 Warp Talons. So a lot of 5-man squads in this list. The idea being to kind of propel the damage of the 5-man units, especially in like the trading skirmishing phase, and little fights on flanks using the Bile buffs, and then using a couple of hammer units, the 10-man Possessed, the Lord squads, the Warp Talons in appropriate matchups to just continue to apply pressure to the Rat matchups. I found that Bile kind of struggles with holes, regardless of whether or not you take gigantic squads. So what's the point of taking gigantic squads if it's going to be a problem either way? I'd rather take 3 or 4 extra units. So that's the idea here. For deployment-wise, just real quick, I've got my 10 Possessed in the front here, ready to get aggressive. I've got 2 kind of flanking Rhinos. So the first one is going to go this way. That's got my Lord with Chosen, and then I've got 5 more Legios with a Lord that are going to load into that Rhino on turn 1. My second Rhino, erase, technology, you love to see it, is right here. It's got Fabius in it. He's going to dump out kind of into the middle, getting ready to threaten. And then the other Lord with Legios are right here in this ruin, and they're just going to get in that Rhino on turn 1. So just a nice little bit of Rhino cycling. And then around my flanks, I've got a whole smorgasbord of units. The 2 5-man Possessed are toward the top of the table, and then I've got my 2 jump back units around the lower right, ready to spring onto my expansion. It's a little more exposed, so I figure the mobility of the jump packs will do me a lot of good there, getting to the safe positions quickly. And then 10 Cultists there to back them up as well, and then obviously 10 Cultists on my home field. As for the mission, we are playing Search and Destroy, as you can see. We are also playing Linchpin and Banners. So Linchpin will be very interesting. I think we are both armies that really thrive on denying primary. So I can expect that, at least in the early to mid game, this will be a fairly low scoring primary game, right? You come flip my expansion in the middle, I come flip your expansion in the middle. We're kind of just both getting threes, hoping to get eights. Is that kind of the bead you're getting as well?
Yeah, more or less. The attrition war is going to be real interesting in this one. Into the larger bricks of bile, I really struggle to break through things, but into some of these smaller units, I think I'm going to be able to put you down. So things are going to break one way or the other. In general, you have a couple more units than me that trade up pretty well, so I think I'm going to get broken through. It's just going to be a matter of how long I can hold out and hopefully generate a decent amount of points. So we can end up somewhere close to a draw here. We're definitely doing this practice in a very teams-oriented format here, so we're not going to take any crazy risks. Hoping to Hail Mary swing things up to a possible win. If I can walk out of here with a 7 or an 8, at the end of the day, that's going to be what it is.
How do you feel about the theory of the doctrines in this matchup? Because as I've gotten to learn Admech more, it's been very interesting to kind of uncover what everyone favors. Classically, Siegler lives in Protector Doctrine the entire game, but I know you generally tend to favor Conqueror. What's kind of the theory of whether or not you stay in Conq or Protector for this game, for this matchup rather?
Yeah, for sure. This list definitely plays a lot more Conqueror than it does Protector in general, and that's going to be a really useful thing for cutting some of these angles and making sure that I'm able to put down some of these squads, right? Because like just a Chaos Lord surviving from a Chaos Lord and 5 Legionnaires, he can punch out a 5-man on his own. So I really want to make sure that we're getting all the way through there, and an extra pip of AP is a great way to do that. But being an army that basically doesn't have rerolls to hit in melee, and you just kind of hit on 3s, if I push that to 4s, your damage can kind of fall off a cliff. So I'm going to play a little bit on the balls of my feet here and be willing to switch back and forth somewhat to minimize the output coming out of some of this melee when possible, but also to maximize the output coming out of my shooting here. Part of it will definitely depend on if I'm going first or second. If I'm going first, I'm going to live a lot more in Conqueror. And if I'm going second, I may end up favoring Protector a little bit more to try to hold out on some of that attrition. But we'll see. It's kind of an interesting one because both have a lot of really good utility here. And it'll also a little bit come down to the buffs that you end up rolling with Bile.
Yeah, I have seen the -1 hit from Protector absolutely wreck Bile in the past, especially if they only get 1 or 0 offensive buffs. It's like, yikes, man. Hitting on 4s, no rerolls is just bad. So very curious to see how it pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, best of luck. We're rolling off here, and it looks like you are going first. So what are we going to do about that, brother?
Well, I'm gonna run at you screaming. That's kind of just how my army works. Turn 1, I get to roll. Got attacked by some man. Attacked by some rangers there. So yeah, turn 1, before anything happens, sticking my home field and roll my bile buffs. This game I roll double weapon skill. Weapon skill is probably the most important, or maybe movement. So I'm absolutely keeping weapon skill. I obviously reroll the duplicate and I get +1 attack. So this is a fantastic combination, obviously. You've got a lot of meat, and it's actually going to be a little harder than you would anticipate on paper to cut through all of it, despite the fact that I have a lot of good profiles into you. So I think the only combination that is better than this is weapon skill movement. I am not going to complain about weapon skill attack. So yeah, turn 1, we're going to roll some objectives. We draw Bring It Down and Overwhelming Force. Bring It Down, obviously not achievable at this juncture. We don't have the CPU to recycle it. But Overwhelming Force, if we can manage to kill these infiltrators in the center, we'll get ourselves a nice juicy 3. And that's kind of what these Possessed were angling to do anyway. So sounds good to me. We do have Cypher in this list, and he goes ahead and hops out of that middle Rhino and puts those infiltrators within 12. This is a really nice tool into Admech because their CP are so good. You really want to make that Feel No Pain strat as unappealing as possible, and in this case, it's just straight up impossible. I want those possessed to clean the clock of those infiltrators, not only because it will prevent Scorby overwhelming force, but will also prevent like a remnant unit from getting a move block off. So other than that, just kind of staging up. As I mentioned, the Fabulous unit hops out and they're kind of staging behind this ruin toward the middle of the table. Let me go ahead and grab my thing. So Fabulous here. He's in a position where if he really needs to, he can head this way to threaten this objective. But more likely than not, he's just going to go to the middle to respond to whatever you put there next turn. The 10-man possessed, they're such a strange unit. They do so many things okay. Right, like they're fairly tough, they hit fairly hard, there's a decent amount of OC, and they're fairly cheap, but like they're not especially good at any one of those things. But the 10 of them will require some commitment from you, and so I'm anticipating needing you to respond. Fabulous is in a perfect position for that. He can just hop on in there, advance charge if needed, and do some damage. Other than that, just kind of some staging, pretty basic stuff. We end up hopping a bunch of guys out of the Rhino at the top of the table and staging them up in this ruin here. I'm very cognizant of the fact that your primary plan is just going to be to continue to move block me as I make my way toward that objective with successive waves of Sky Stalkers and Sterilizers while you stand on the objective and score it. So I want to start that process as far forward as possible. That doesn't just get me pot shotted for free. So all three of those units, or all two of those units, and then the Lord Legios that hopped in that Rhino are just kind of staging as aggressively as possible if they're ready to commit some acts of violence. And there we go. We see the effect of the possessed with the weapon skill and attack, just no questions asked, annihilating those infiltrators, which is good job from them, scoring me 3 points. What doctrine did you choose this turn, Tyler?
I did decide to stick with Conqueror. And a big part of that is that I do not have any battle line in range of that initial unit there. The only battle line on the table at the moment are all the way back here. So they're not going to be doing anything useful, and I need to kill these possessed. And AP1 versus AP0 is just a massive difference in terms of my ability to do that. So that's why we end up sticking with Conqueror there. At the end of your turn, we do end up picking up this Traxi Blob after doing some pre-measures here. There's just no way for them to get all the way up here to do the move blocking I need them to do, even if I had deployed them on the line. So we will spend our CP to enable that. They're going to drop in up here. This is just sort of a pre-measure and fire and fade forward and keep these friends back while I throw up some infiltrators to grab this primary here. With this particular bio list having essentially no guns that I really have to worry about, move blocks like this are just a really effective and efficient way to pull off some early primary. So if I'm worried about losing the attrition, we're doing those early is a must and is a really good use of resources to send in 10 Taraxi for 5 primary. On the other side of the board here, we're going to send up some infiltrators to block off this objective. Take it from you. We do actually need to take it. We're not able to just contest it because we draw, recover assets, and storm hostile. And certainly this is not a storm, and I don't see myself getting on this objective necessarily. Like I might, but things could be sketchy. So we're just going to guarantee the storm over here, while ordinarily we might just go for a contest. But we do really want to put this possessed squad down. If the whole thing goes away, things are going to get a lot easier. So the Fire and Fade squad is going to jump out over here, and their boat will move up to make sure that they're able to get back in. We're going to line up this pink boat going down this intense angle here to put some shots and some firing deck, and then we're going to send in some sterilizers as well. Just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at this unit here because I really do not want to have to continue to deal with them. Like Lucas said, the possessed are kind of up and down in terms of how effective they actually are at killing things, but into my army, the number of attacks at weapon skill 2, it's just going to be a problem. So We'll send this red squad out here who will go for a move block on all of this nonsense to stop it from going down this way, as well as getting some feet on the objective. As you can see there, this move block is especially effective because with my 1-inch engagement, I can keep the distance from that engagement range to this crate to under 32 millimeters, and suddenly there's no way for anything to get past me in the movement phase, and anything that's charging me is going to have to end up coming in and basing, so I'm not super concerned about that. This squad is going to be out of here, so that's an effective move block. Same thing over here. This space doesn't fit through either, so this squad, this is Drax's squad over here, is actually like surprisingly safe from melee. They, of course, can still get shot at, and I end up, I think, a little bit overly disrespecting Lucas's shooting here, but they're definitely not getting charged. So with all this nonsense lined up here, we're looking pretty good. I end up deciding to actually stage with this Dune Rider here instead of shooting down this way, just because it'll be a little more efficient, and this Dune Rider here instead can line up and take those shots. I've recolored it from blue to yellow as the yellow squad has now gotten inside, but it is Draxus' squad that got out. So they will get to lay some firepower down here, including some firing deck, enabling Draxus' squad to reroll to wound. Draxus' squad getting reroll to wound is going to do some decent damage here. Though I know you've got a stratagem that's going to kind of throw a bit of a wrench in the plan here to down these, especially with me being in Conqueror Doctrine.
Yeah, this is the interplay between the doctrines is just so interesting in this matchup because on the one hand, Protector is just so good at blocking me if I don't have the weapon skill. And then also, if you're in Conqueror, you get really punished on the hit rolls just by an LFR type stratagem, right? So Bile has 1 CP shooting or fight phase -1 to hit. So if your whole army's hitting on 4s, yeah, the +1 AP is nice, but I could drive it all to hitting on 5s. And yeah, for the units without rerolls like the Bode and Draxus's unit, very scary. Even the Marshal units going from 4s rolling to 5s rolling, that's a 20% percentage point drop in output. Like it's big. So yeah, as we can see here, like it's not quite doing the damage that you want it to, right? Like I think basically everything's fired at this point, maybe one other unit, and there's still 4 possessed alive, and that can probably just clean the clock of a 5-man rat unit by on their own / go deep and muck you up next turn. So yeah, the doctrine interplay is very, very interesting here, because on the other hand, Protector, right, like not having that AP1 for all of the AP0 ignores cover shooting you have is at 50% drop in output for all those guns. So it's just it's very, very interesting. Yeah. So we do have these 2 possessed left. What are we thinking? Are we going to leave them there? Are you going to charge in to try to finish him? Because Draxus actually can punch a little bit in melee.
Draxus can punch. I'm in Conqueror, so the whole squad punches reasonably well. You won't be -1 though, so we'll just be hitting you on 3s. Draxus is a power fist. We've got an AP on everybody. I think we're definitely going in here. Like I said, I'm not super concerned about getting charged based on this move blocking situation, so it definitely seems like the right call. I think also one of these guys is down some wounds. I don't think he's at full health. I don't think we end up being quite able to clean the unit down. Oh my gosh, we kill neither of them. That's a bummer. And lose a couple guys in return. 4, it looks like we're already down to 6 out of our 10. But I just really can't have a 2-man possessed squad running free. Do you think this was the wrong call? I'm wondering, actually, in hindsight, if maybe it would have been okay.
I think staying back is probably the right call. Yeah, because ultimately Draxus only has her 3 or 4 attacks. Everyone else is just kind of like hoping to wound on 6s. So staying back is probably the slightly safer call. Obviously, in hindsight, we can now see that you didn't kill any of them, so it becomes even more "quote unquote" obvious. But yeah, probably staying back is the right move because my plan now, especially having 4 of those guys having been killed, is to move up grenade with that fabulous unit that's right there that is only in range because you charged, and now finish off the survivors with the pistols, right? So that's kind of like a free unit of Vanguard that I otherwise would have had to go way out of my way to dig out.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when you threw this grenade, I was shocked. I was like, wait a sec, how did this happen? But But yeah, that happened because as we went for this unnecessary charge.
Yeah.
Good point.
It does. I mean, you already had Storm Hostile, but it does put OC on there. Like maybe if my grenade whiffs or something, right? Then there's like a chance in hell that you hold the objective.
Totally.
But yeah, in all likelihood, probably not. Um, so yeah, you do there get your Storm Hostile objective, and who's recovering assets? The Rangers for sure.
And the infiltrators up top here.
Makes sense. The way you use your infiltrators, like obviously the 5-mans are very cheap, so they can kind of go out and do various odd jobs like contesting objectives. The white squad in the lower right now is doing that. But this blue squad in the upper left ended up being a huge thorn in my side the whole game. Could you talk a little bit about how you use that unit? Because they have that really frustrating battle shock ability to it's hard to flip objectives from them.
No, absolutely. Infiltrators are the best unit in Admech, in my opinion. They are an absolute menace when it comes to primary because they have two abilities, one of which is at the start of the fight phase. They cause battle shocks to all units within engagement range, and that is all units, monster vehicle, whatever. And then the second is they have a 6-inch aura of -1 leadership, -2 if they themselves are within 6 of battle line, which means that with literally 0 support, if they're just standing on a primary and you want behind a wall, so you have to come in and charge them, you need to get through a battle shock at -1 if you're going to have any OC to try to take the primary from me. And with access to things like the Feel No Pain or potentially the -1 to be hit for Protector Doctrine, like the odds of you actually cleaning them through with a lot of small skirmishing trading kind of units is just not really that hot. So they have a really good way of sticking around and holding primary even when you wouldn't think that they would. And additionally, right, even if they're not getting charged, if something else is, they pose a really solid heroic threat around that to cause those battle shocks again in the same way. And again, that battle shock can also shut down a lot of offensive stratagems and whatnot to make things a little bit extra spicy. So they're real great at that kind of a situation. It's always a bummer when I feel like I need to send in so many off this early, right? Losing essentially one of my units top 1 and one of them top 2 is a bummer. But I need to hold down the gas pedal a little bit here to make sure that that we're getting everything done that we need to.
And, yeah, so we're already at the ingress step. Let me talk about my movement phase real quick. So this turn, I mean, we're ending up in the situation we expected to be in, which is, you know, we're each going to contest each other's expansions for the foreseeable future, right? I'm getting a 3. I'm going first, so I really need to keep up pressure on the primary game to be playing this actively and not fall behind. This turn, unfortunately, I don't draw great secondaries. I draw Recover Assets and Marked for Death. Recover Assets will be a 3. That'll be the 2 squads of Cultists on the right side of the table. Marked for Death is whatever in the backfield. Really fun, interactive secondary. What is a lot of choice between you and your opponent, right? Fucking dog shit secondary. So we'll get ourselves a 3 and a CP, which isn't the end of the world. Actually, I'm lying to you. I first drew behind enemy lines, and I'm praying to God that my possessed pass that morale check. They don't. It's not worth an auto pass. So with that in mind, I recycle the card and draw what's it called? Marked for Death at that point. So I'm only getting a 3 on my recover this turn is the long and short of it. So points, not looking great. I know I need to get some material, the material war going so that I can actually make some sort of a push here. So you're getting a lot of resources out of me this turn. In the lower right, our Legios and Lord dump out of that Rhino, and they're going to use the Lord's free strat to advance and charge. They ended up rolling the big 6 natively, no reroll needed. They get all the way around this infiltrator move block and are going for this boat. I know that your plan next turn is going to be to dump those Vanguard out onto my objective, reduce my OC, flip the objective, wrap my Rhino, just generally be a huge hassle, force my ingress back. I would love to kill that boat further away from my objective so that whole procedure becomes more challenging for you. So that Lord Legio squad is going to do that. And this is where the bile buffs for that basic Lord without prime test subject, really come into effect, right? Like that Lord's Thunderhammer loves +1 weapon skill, it loves +1 strength, and it loves +1 attack. So that guy right now is hitting on 2s with 7 attacks with the once per game. He's going to go obliterate that boat. Similarly, in the middle, Fabulous's unit steps out. As I mentioned, I'm going to throw that grenade, shoot the pistols, hope to clear up those Vanguard, charge into this squad of not Sky Stalkers, sterilizers, and flip the objective in case there's any survivors. And they'll sit there. They're fairly tough. Toughness 5 is a big breakpoint for all your strength 4. So they'll take some dedicated firepower to kill, and maybe Fabulous lives and can go fight some people later on. And then in the upper left, we need to try to flip this objective. You only have 2 infiltrators on it. So my Chosen are coming out. They're going to lend a few pot shots down this angle here to Draxus's unit. They've got some combi weapons and plasma pistols, so maybe can plink a guy or 2 despite stealth. And then come on in and clean the clock of these pink Sky Stalkers. And then ideally, we'll throw 2 or 3 models on the objective to take it. You've already drawn Storm, so the exact number doesn't really matter. But we'll flip the objective and keep your primary 2 to 3. But that actually is not what happens here. You commit yourself to a rapid ingress.
Yeah, absolutely. So the sterilizers here are going to ingress for a couple of different reasons. Number one, they're going to make this primary situation a lot more complicated by putting a couple of extra bodies on it. Number two, they're obviously going to be, glaring down this angle here with nefarious shooting intentions. Right, they're setting up a potentially scary Overwatch, but then also just a really great spot to be in for next turn. It accomplishes a whole lot of things at once to have this unit over here. And we pre-measure and check just exactly how many feet Lucas can end up with on this objective. I think it ends up being 3 or 4 OC, so I get my 2 infiltrators and 3 sterilizers guarantees 5, and we're good to go without having to worry about that. Always be looking for ways to ingress for primary, especially if you're planning to ingress already. And with this unit in mind, we are staying in Conqueror this turn because this is definitely going to be their moment to shine, as they really love that pip of AP.
Yeah, I'm super curious to pick your brain about the whole interplay on this upper left objective over the course of this game, because I feel like I kind of mismanaged it a little bit, but not in an inexcusable way, because like all of the things that were happening up there were very like new to my brain. And yeah, I'm just kind of curious as we go along here what happens, because the distance I'm like standing when I charge you, and then when I finish my combat influences where you arrive, and then Fire and Fate. It's just like a whole wild set of measurements that I'm not very used to. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. So Draxus's unit unfortunately just got vaped.
God, fuck, damn it, man.
The Cyclos Needlers, baby. Grrrah, grrrah. Just mows them down. Let's go. So that's great. That's basically a whole free unit of gremlins that I would otherwise be a move block, an objective flip that I just kind of get for free here. I also have this one remaining possessed who's battle shocked. His buddy did trip on the way out. But he's hanging out in this building at just kind of a weird angle where he hopefully won't get shot too much next turn. And then, I don't know, maybe I draw sabotage or behind. I already drew behind, but Homer or something like that on turn 3 or 4, and he can go score me some points. We can see the heroic Legionnaries in the bottom charging into that car. That car will be Dunzo. And then I've got my Warp Talons here. Warp Talons are perfect for matchups like this as well. They're really good into things like GSC, Guard, anywhere where you can kind of like get a couple units for free, but also threaten ingresses at the same time. Fast ingresses with advantage and charge access. Those kind of armies really hate Warp Talons. And the worst case scenario, they're just like a fast jump pack unit. So they're going to go in along with this Rhino and hopefully blender these infiltrators here. Kind of an awkward interaction. The infiltrators have that -1 leadership aura, and Talons don't have a icon. So I'm not going to pact here, because there's a 50-50 chance I just like blow up a Talon for free and lose attacks. Which is quite funny.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also worth mentioning that as a precautionary measure, you've got 3 Raptors standing on this point as well, just in case all of these units fail their battle shocks from the infiltrators, just to make sure you don't have to worry about that under any circumstances. Because there's totally a world where you go fail, I pop feel no pain and stick around. But in this case, it's just not worth it to me.
Yep. So there they go, the Warp Talons. Pew, goodbye. And we can see in the upper left, that's the prime test subject, Lord with his chosen buddies with +1 strength and attack. +1 attack and weapon skill gets around like most of the main chosen issue, which is like hitting on threes with no rerolls and then no rerolls to wound. Right, like that Lord is reliability. The chosen now have much more reliability. With Cypher within 12 as well, I positioned Cypher right here. It would have cost both of your CP. I think you even might have had one because you ingress here to pop the feel no pain. So there's just no feel no pain and those birds evaporate. And I've chosen here to not consolidate onto the objective for a couple reasons. Obviously, the first of which being that your sterilizers get full roll to wound against units on objectives. So I just want to make killing those guys a little bit harder by not being on the objective. And then the second of which is giving up overwhelming force, right? Like there's really no reason to be on this objective. Other than that, I would have pushed back your reserves another 3 inches. So this unit is going to die either way, whether or not it takes 3 of your units or 2 of your units. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing else you're shooting up here. I absolutely should have consolidated 3 inches as far forward as possible. And this is like the first of a series of cascading mistakes in this upper left-hand corner that ended up costing me like at least 1 to 2 differential this game. And this is where it all starts. So I'll keep mentioning those as they come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, on the bottom side here, things are a little bit interesting with this boat situation. You've absolutely slaughtered the boat. Good job. But we've managed to avoid getting tagged here with a little bit of bullshit. Namely that we've got our Technoarcheologist, the solo characters in this boat. We have 2 of those. One of them is in strat reserve, and one of them starts on his own in the boat here. The implication being that he could have been a really easy sacrifice to the middle early on. But because of that, he's gotten out. He's this thing over here. I don't know why he's a gray rectangle. But anyway, he gets out right here and forces anyone trying to console to base him because we're not within 3 here. And this gap here is not close enough for engagement. So he'll prevent our purple squad here from getting tagged in the first place, which is really important to get another several activations out of this unit.
Yep. Absolutely. It's also going to enable that purple squad, obviously, to shoot in your turn, like you mentioned, but also launch a charge. There are a bunch of OC that has a minus OC aura, so the likelihood they can flip my expansion, provided they can make the charge, is actually pretty likely. And then that heroic fucking archaeologist just like cleans the clock of 3 legionaries randomly.
What a gangster! I think we. Yeah.
Yep. Again, ended up being 2 because he doesn't actually have the weapon skill buff. But yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I am in. Why am I in Protector this turn? I guess I'm thinking that like I'm going to get a lot of out of mean shots off this turn, and I really don't want your -1 to hit to cuck me again. But given that like the majority of my output this turn is going to come from the sterilizers, that's kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, I think Conqueror was the right call.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I think it was just
there was some kind of argument to like maybe the -1 to hit would have helped. I just no.
No, there was no way the -1 to hit was going to matter.
No.
None of my battle line are on the fields.
Maybe I make a mistake and crack your boat first, and then your infiltrators are -1 to hit against my Talons.
I think no, that's no. I think it was just that I was so traumatized by how bad it was hitting you on 5s. But like the unit that hit you on 5s that did the worst is now dead. But I guess I didn't see coming that they were going to get wiped there. Not the worst thing in the world.
Well, it ended up not mattering because these guys are legionaries, right? Like you're gonna kill them.
Yeah.
So yeah, but overall, not a bad turn, right? Like we did a lot of damage there. We killed an infiltrator 5-man, we killed a Sky Stalker 10-man, we killed a sterilizer 5-man. We kind of picked up 10 Vanguard for free. We've pushed you quite far back, and we killed a boat. So we've kind of reset the lines of engagement further forward toward you. What's the play in this turn?
Yeah, so we spent a good while here checking a couple things out and doing some pre-measures and whatnot. The first and foremost, we do need to be denying a bunch of primary here. And If you thought you had bad secondaries, let me show you what bad secondaries are. We're going to pick up Bring It Down and Establish Locus. And I really cannot afford to have Draxus just establish Locus for 2 right now. She is way too valuable in terms of guns. And I frankly just need every gun on deck right now. So we're going to have to, unfortunately, chuck Locus. And we chuck it for behind enemy lines, which is just completely impossible. So we will be scoring 0 secondaries this turn. So all we're going to be focused on is primary denial, and the attrition war. So the biggest, like primary denial, the middle here, not hard. Kill that stuff. That can certainly be arranged. The complicated part is going to be this objective over here, as I am certainly going to be sending in some of these friends over here. They walked up to here to go for this charge as discussed. But also, I need to avoid Lucas being able to perform a similar ingress play like I did over here, slamming his Terminators down over here, right? Because if the Terminators drop in here and then heroic after the Vanguard that come in, they're going to be in trouble. So we're going to go for this really awkward kind of maneuver here where we swing our Taraxi really wide, which is made significantly more awkward by the fact that we're in Protector. So I'm not able to advance in this maneuver here. So we can't even quite screen the whole objective, but we'll push them far enough back that 6 inches won't cover the whole Rhino, and as a result, we'll be able to slink in and swing around on the pile console to still take the point. Just going to be a little bit messier than it would have been if we were in Conqueror here. So that's got to happen. We do get a foot from this friend on the point, which is really important because while I'm definitely going to kill all the Legionnaires here, Bile comes back, and it just will be a little bit safer to have at least one OC on there to contest him. I think Draxus is not on the point, is how it ends up here. Up top here, obviously, murder. That's not too complicated at all. And then the other thing is we're just going to completely rinse and repeat the situation here. Now, with most things like gargoyles that would fire and fade, it would be rather tricky to block something like this off. But with the way that Admech work, not a problem at all, right? This 10-man Taraxi is going to drop in. The Fire and Fade squad here is getting out. Grab the blue again. They're going to get out, and they're going to project their 6-inch bubble of being within 6 of battle line, so that when the Taraxi shoot, they'll get to Fire and Fade 12 and hop over here and wall this off. And if all goes according to plan, that will keep not only will it keep these friends off the objective, but it'll also keep these Taraxi out of combat. And allow them to just continue to flame back and forth. They are the most explosive damage piece in the army, particularly into something like Bile that really wants to go stand on objectives. So if this all works out according to plan, we will sacrifice very few resources to hold primary for another turn and continue on shooting things left and right. Our yellow squad here is going to hustle out to the middle and then just continue to lay in the herd here because Bio squad has to go. They cannot be left alone. And if all goes according to plan, Lucas will end this turn with 5 possessed, a Rhino with his Chaos Lord, an empty Rhino, Terminators, Raptors. Like, he still has a decent number of resources, but none of them are way too in my face. None of them are too threatening, so I think should be okay here. Annoyingly, I do not have a plan for this friend over here unless things get hot rolly over here early, and then Draxus could potentially shoot this way, but, so it goes.
So it goes. Can I just say 2 things? Games like this are probably my favorite games of Warhammer, where there's just like 2 meat walls slamming into each other for 3 turns. Like, fuck this stupid tradie. I put 1 unit out. I nickel and dime your one guy with my Rhinos combi. Get that shit out of here, dude. I want big gorillas and robots and hulking monsters just like punching the hell out of each other. That's Warhammer. Let's go. Second of all, I love what they've done this edition with like the theming for armies, or like the that's probably not as examples, like the Custodes, their whole thing is like you get every guy has a once per game, right? Like all of their characters have once per games, and now the detachment lets you reload those. That's kind of like their theme. Orcs, their theme is let's go gambling. Eldar, their theme is they get dice flips. So it's like faded stuff. Every army has kind of a theme. Admech's theme being your guys do better when they're near battle line is so sick.
Hell yeah.
Big fan of that.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
know it's a lot of fun. So we see that Terminators do end up ingressing over here anyway, hoping to work their way through this flank. If nothing else, just ensuring a better position here. And you can see where this Taraxi move block ends up. It looks pretty rock solid. We'll see how it shakes out when it's all said and done. But yeah, just trying to keep things in place here. We do manage, as you can see, to shoot down the Legionnaires. I don't know if Bile has already got. I think we immediately shoot down the Legionnaires and Bile, and then he stands back up. So we've got Bile here and Cypher here, who I think took some damage from something earlier. I don't remember what from. Maybe
He packed it and
check.
blasted his brain out. Yeah.
Yeah, classic. So Draxus is going to try to finish these two off here. We'll see if she's able to get it done. Very annoyingly, this Chaos Lord does survive. He's got like one wound left, and I lined up this Ranger squad here and just completely forgot about them. So he does get to make it out of the shooting phase in one piece. But we'll see if we can pull off this charge phase as designed. Finish shooting first here. Get him, Draxus. Spent a while thinking about this. These weird squares, by the way, must be my Marshals. I guess the second computer doesn't recognize them for some reason. Same with the Technoarcheologist over here. Techno's in a great spot too to continue to push back your reserves here. I was very happy with where he ended up. Okay, Tyler, stop thinking so hard. Shoot Draxus. Yeah, there she goes. And blammo. See you later, Cypher. Screw that guy. I hate his guts. And
I think this is various Vanguard rattling off some shots.
I think it's just discussion here on like whether I need to do something about Bile here, and I decide that I don't. Not that there's much that I could have done in the first place. So we end up charging the Yellow Squad in down here to that Chaos Lord to finish him off. Just the Marshal himself should have no problem beating him to death. He's got like a wound, but also the rest of the squad will do okay. And then we go for our charge over here. And again, we stay outside of 6, avoid the heroics, pile console onto the point, ending that console within 3 of the Terminators to drop them all the way to OC0. So I've only got to have a couple dudes on there to really take it, while still being able to swing out pretty wide here. Because we're in a pretty strung out position here, where I wanted as much shooting as possible to end up in here. So we're able to do it with just a couple of guys. I think I end up with like 2 or 3 dudes on here is all we need. Because the Rhino is unaffected by the -1 OC, so we'll have 2 OC from that. And then I think there's like 2 or 3 warp talents over here, something that I can't get within 3 of. Maybe it's the Terminators, one or the other. We just
Is it Raptors? But yep.
Raptors, yeah, sorry. So yeah, we're gonna go on in here. We're gonna bonk this man. Bonk, bonk, I say.
Yep, take some damage. I think he goes down to like 1 or 2 wounds.
He goes down to 1. That's what it is. It's not that he's already at 1 when I charge, that he's at 1 at the end of the turn after I didn't shoot at him. So that was annoying. But yeah, fair enough. And here we can see the careful moving of this square. Trust me, he looked like a Marshal at the time. But yeah, so we'll get on here. We'll console this way. We'll get our 3 friends on there for 6 OC. We'll get within 3 here, and we'll take this back. Maybe it's 4 friends. But yeah, so overall, very happy with how that turn played out. This objective is contested. This objective is contested. This objective seems pretty firmly locked down. And we've dealt with a good number of your resources here. No secondaries is a bummer, and this is definitely a lot more commitment than I usually am trying to do on turn 2, but you've kind of forced the situation here, and I'm not scoring points late, so we got to go try to get them early.
Yeah, this has to be my game plan, is get units out of you every turn until you're out. Especially because, like, every one of my units don't need each other to be threats, right? Like my legionaries aren't contingent on my possessed to do damage. My possessed aren't contingent on my chosen with Lord to do damage. Whereas like, once your battle line starts going away, that's a little bit less damage and utility. Once the boats start going away, that's less damage and utility. So I just need to keep getting stuff. But the points aren't looking great, right? Like you put me on another 3, and again, I'm going first. So it's going to be hard for me to make up that deficit here. On this turn, I get my 3 points, and I draw 2 cards. We've got Established Locus and Sabotage. Normally, an action turn would be really bad for Bile. But the additional cultists that I have are going to be really helpful for scoring things like recover assets last turn. Sabotage this turn is going to be done by my Rhino at the top, I believe. And then that one hero possess ends up being a legend, passing his battle shock test, running into the corner of that building, and deploying himself a locus, or a homer. No, establishing himself a locus. There we go. I love Warhammer. So honestly, all things considered, drawing 2 actions with Bile on turn 3 and still being able to do both of them is probably a good sign. So we'll get ourselves a clean and easy 7, unless you find some kind of outlandish way to kill my Rhino, who's hiding behind a wall.
My army that has no anti-tank. Yes, of course. Easy.
While 15 guys are bearing down your face. And then here comes like kind of the final wave. We do have those 5 Talons that are staying in Ingress. They'll be a last scalpel. This is why I really like the Talons, because they continue to apply threat anywhere on the table for the cost of a CP. Like Bile really does like its CP, so it is a high investment. But being able to go anywhere on the table on more or less any turn really keeps up the pressure on your opponent, whereas usually Bile's like a fairly telegraphed army, right? Like once you see where the pieces are, you kind of know how the game is going to progress. And more importantly, like maybe there's one unit of 10 possessed that's an ingress that's coming in off a table edge in a very defined large blob. Having these little 5-mans, the 5-man Terminator, the 5-man Talon, really give you a little bit of extra flexibility at the cost of some punching power. Here, we're sending for the best
moment of the game.
What?
Bile?
He got overwatched and killed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Draxus, the legend.
Draxus redemption moment.
Yes, sir. How does Draxus die? I kill her this turn, don't I?
I think she's at 1 wound right now, so I hope so.
Oh, yeah, 'cause she does fail her battle shock next turn.
Oh, see, maybe she doesn't die this turn. Yeah, you're right.
I don't think she dies this turn.
I think she gets down to 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, Bile's still right there. Oh, he's gonna die in the charge phase. Yeah. God damn it. You cheeky goose. Cheeky rat. What do you say?
Bastard?
Cheeky bastard. There you go. Cheeky goose. All right, so yeah, we're kind of running at you here. We got the Terminators did a nice job there. They gunned down that Archaeologist with all their anti-infantry 4-up dev wound guns. Those guns are actually pretty nice on the Terminators because they get native reroll to hit when they packed, and losing models honestly isn't the end of the world on them because reviving them just gives them more movement. So, and then the other guys in that squad, I think there are still 5 left at this point, are going to go kill the rest of those Vanguard. The Raptors are plowing in with +1 weapon skill and attack. Obviously, you don't always have the 2 best offensive buffs for the Raptors, but like they're still Space Marines with sustained. And even if you have 1 offensive buff, like they're pretty good into little rat units. So like they're going to go in and do some work to those Vanguard. I think they actually end up rolling very well and killing the whole squad or most of it.
Yes.
Which is pretty redonkulous, frankly.
You kill them to the man, which is why it's so annoying to me that this frickin' Chaos Lord lived for another turn. Because I didn't shoot here, because then there's 4 dudes anyway. But yeah, so that's how that goes. Especially because these things are still so useful at small squads. They fall back into the boat, right? And the boat drives up over here.
Firing deck.
And then I get firing deck, and then the boat charges in. Like it would have been beautiful, but I digress. Up top here, we do see that heroic play out of the infiltrators, like I talked about earlier, really great thing. He ends up passing his battle shock here, which is a bummer, but it will prevent some bullshit consoling this way at least.
So here's where I'd love to pause and just talk about again what's happening in the upper left-hand corner, because again I have mismanaged it this turn and I want to walk this through. So up there I've got one of my 5-man squads of possessed. I've got 5 legionaries with a standard Chaos Lord, and they still have their free strat available. I think I actually tried to use it to advance and charge, but this is an absolutely idiotic play. But anyway, so my goal here, so there's 2 goals. The first and more important of the goals is to flip the objective. You've got most of the Sky Stalkers, but they're going to take a hammering. You've got a certain number of infiltrators, and it looks like you've got about 4 sterilizers on there. So you have anywhere between like 6 to 10 OC on there. The possessed might land a couple of OC to that objective to help flip it, but ultimately I will need the legionaries to end up on that objective to flip it. Basically, no holds barred.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this in mind, we've got this awkward situation now where you do have the CP for Feel No Pain, especially because Cypher is dead. And I can't really count, assuming you use it here, I can't really count on either the Lord Legio combo or the Possessed to one-shot those Sky Stalkers. So very intuitively, you might be like, especially because most of those Sky Stalkers are toward the bottom half of that unit, right here, we might think, yeah, just go with the Legionaries first and mop up whoever's left with the Possessed, right? That's what I do, and that is definitely the wrong order. It's much more important that my Legionaries end up on the objective, even if they don't wipe out the Sky Stalkers. So if the Possessed go first and kill, say, like half the unit, then my Legionaries get to still swing on the Infiltrators. Maybe a couple get to swing on the Sky Stalkers. The Sky Stalkers might live. But much more importantly, I get to pile and consolidate those Legionaries and get them all on the objective. As it is, my Legionaries go in, and we can roll the tape here again, Tyler. I think they go in and kill like 7 of the Sky Stalkers.
Yeah, and that was rather fortuitous too. You get
which
get
is
14 damage through, and I fail all 14 Feel No Pains.
It was a big swing up. But even then, I'm glad I didn't kill the squad, because that really punished me for my absolutely idiotic play. Because even if there's 1 guy left, like that prevents 3 Legionaries from, well, they're all not piling in because they're all base to base with you off the objective. But it prevents them from consolidating for sure if there's even 1 guy left. So now, as soon as I swing with the Legionaries first, I forfeited any chance in hell of me flipping the objective. The second goal, which I'm going to accomplish here because the Sky Stalkers got obliterated, is to tag the Sterilizers so they don't get to do damage next turn. This is going to get accomplished. So even though I didn't get primary goal number 1 of flipping the objective, I do at least turn off the damage from that white unit of Sterilizers. So that's nice. And so again, my woes in the upper left-hand corner here are all stemming from that initial decision to not consolidate the chosen forward, right? Because if I had 3 more inches of space here, all right, I get that you fire and fade 12, but like it just forces you further back. And space along this front edge of the objective right now, we can see we're checking it right now, is very important. And if I had 3 more inches of it here, it could make all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So we're just resolving which models are getting pulled to the Legionaries. We're discussing whether or not the objective can get flipped. We determined that basically no matter which models are pulled, most of the Possessed will get to swing. I will get a tag on your Sterilizers, and I will not flip the objective, kind of regardless of which models are pulled. So
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter. The Possessed use their dev wounds. They fucking clobber those Sterilizers. Or sorry, Sky Stalkers, and tag the Sterilizers. The Infiltrators, I think, also took a little bit of a hammering from the Lord. I tried splitting off because I'm a greedy fuck. And I think I killed like 3 of them or something like... No, I killed 2, which honestly is pretty unlucky. But whatever. And just in the hopes of like removing the asset. Okay, I mean... So mission not really accomplished in the upper left, but everywhere else we're looking pretty good, right? Like the Vanguard in the lower half of the table have disappeared. And that
Yeah.
is pretty good for me because it means I'll start scoring my 8. Like the only thing you have over there at this point is a boat. And a boat is not going to flip an objective from cultists and terminators and a rhino, right? Like maybe you gun down
Yep.
my cultists and tag my termies, but the objective is still mine at the end of the day. So I'm kind
Mhm.
of happy with where we are right now.
Yeah, especially having not used these things for their actual shooting, these Rangers definitely should have gotten into that boat to be reloaded to be heading into one of these two directions this turn. Um, yeah, we are never taking this at this particular juncture, and that's just an awkward position to be in.
Yeah.
Um, Fortunately, on the other side of the table, we do get to abuse a little bit of Bile's weaknesses, which is that they are a very low OC army, right? 5 possessed here are just good old fashioned 5 OC, so we can jump 5 of our 10 sterilizers this way, and we're still getting good utility out of them, even if it doesn't actually kill anything here, right? Still just good bodies being put in places. And we do still have 5 more Sky Stalkers here coming in out of reserve, and we're going to rinse and repeat exactly what we did last turn, where we are going to have our Fire and Fade Vanguard rush out over to here. They're going to apply a lot of firepower to the Chaos Lord and Legionnaires here, remove them from the game after the boat gives them real wounds by shooting over here. Before that happens, the Sky Stalkers will fire, and they will fire and fade onto the point. One of these possessed did die to the sterilizers in combat because they are gangsters. So it'll be easy to take that objective from them, even if maybe the Chaos Lord survives somehow. And then after that, we'll get back in the boat and we'll move on with our lives. So this side still locked down just fine. This side still locked down just fine. But now Lucas will be getting an 8 this turn instead of the 3s that I've held him to thus far. Secondary-wise, this turn, we do finally draw some decent stuff again. We grab Defend and Extend. Extend and nice and easy up here. And defend, and also obviously not too much of a concern as long as we're able to deal with some of this nonsense. Our boat driving over here is going to deal with this idiot either by shooting him or tank shocking him if we need to tag these friends, so that we're certainly not getting over here or to kill those guys. A single possessed does not kill a squad of Rangers either, so defend will be locked in. Our primary of 3 at least will be locked in for next turn. But yeah, a little unfortunate that we don't have quite enough juice to hold on to this point. There was an argument for like sending these guys. They can't charge. I'm not going to go for a 9. Like it feels like there should be a way to end up with these with those Vanguard just chilling up there. Maybe we just leave them up there and switch into Conqueror and hope for the best. But I don't know, man. We're going second here. We're trying to play for the late game and get more utility out of this unit, and they just keep killing things. So I think I stand by this decision, but man, does it feel bad when there's literally like 4 idiots up here, and I have several units, and I just cannot hold the primary.
And this is the utility of that Warp Talon unit, because I feel like whether or not you are actively considering it, like Talons have the ability to ingress in and gank those guys as soon as they, end the turn on a point instead of on the board or in their boat.
Yep.
With bottom of turn, like keeping them in that boat means that you can just guarantee yourself an 8, right? Like if you need to, you can just dump 21 OC on the point and reduce me by 1. I'm not going to contest you at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think keeping them safe, fire and fading back into the car is the safer move, especially because you already had the contest online.
Yeah.
All right. So what were your secondaries that turn?
That was Defend and Extend.
Oh, nice. Okay. So that'll be a clean and easy 8.
Yeah, exactly. So good bounce back after getting a 0 last turn. And we do continue to rack up our banners a little bit here. We had banner here. We had banner here. Okay. Not really changing banners this turn, but continuing on.
Yep. This is now top of turn 4. The Chaos Space Marines score their first 8. Let's go. And they sticky their natural expansion with the Cultists, who are now going to just go ahead and head behind the wall there. I know you can turn to the shadows, but I'm going to have enough garbage in the way that you're probably not going to kill anything there. And even if you do, you're kind of banking it out on a 9. So this turn I draw Defend Stronghold and Area Denial. Defend, again, will be pretty easy as long as the Sky Stalker Remnants don't do anything foolhardy. And then Area Denial, actually a little bit tricky. I've got these multiple 5-mans, but with your Feel No Pain strat and the kind of innate durability of the 10 models with 2 wounds, like, it's going to be kind of hard to one-shot. It's going to be almost impossible to one-shot this unit. And if I don't one-shot it, then you're kind of spread out, so I'm not really going to get that second activation onto you. So I'm a little worried about Area Denial here, in all honesty. The likelihood I get 2 points is fine. It's probably pretty good, considering the number of models that would have to be within 3. There's only like 2 of them, so I'll get to activate on those 2 guys multiple times. But you might deny me the 5, and that would be like a 3-point swing. It'd be kind of annoying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, at this juncture, we aren't going to get any more banners. That was another downfall of my upper left-hand corner blunder with the Legionaries. It was a 6-point swing, not a 5-point swing, because of that banner point. But we do have one in the middle because of Fabulous's unit that ended the turn on that objective on turn 2. So we're at our 3 banners, and that's what we'll stay for the rest of the game because our battle line is all dead. Just kind of making some decisions here about where we want to end this charge. We're going to go play bumper boats in the lower right corner with our 2 cars. I'm just going to charge. Do I charge into you here? I think I don't, and I should have. It would be annoying for you to fall back over me, but you're not going to make it onto the objective. So you could clear over me with a desperate escape, but you're not going to do anything after that. So not charging you just leaves the opportunity open for you to draw an action like Sabotage or Containment over there and then score it, which I'm glad I got punished because you do draw to Containment in this next turn.
Yeah. I'll also point out, there's like I didn't notice it until just watching the film here, but you make a massive misplay in hindsight here with these possessed on your console move. This is like a super closed off junction that usually is not a problem, but you've like tried to be hidden, I guess, over here and given me this like giant alleyway to just march my units through, which is going to come back to bite you a little bit here. You do end up tagging this boat here, which was just like a thing I should have thought harder about and pre-measured. I think if this boat is just a little bit further back here, maybe even all the way back here, like probably could have been avoided, or even it could have been over here. There were better places for it, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead. That's on me.
Idiot.
Yep. On the plus side, that does mean that you're only ending up with 2 guys here, so I have no problem coming over and contesting this point. But yeah, Fire and Fade squad has to get out now. So we do draw containments and O-Force. So we can put these 3 idiots down, we'll be in good shape, which makes the play pretty clear here, right? We're containing up top, we're containing at the bottom. And then our Fire and Fade squad basically has to decide, are we going to hold out for bottom 5 or are we going to send now? And at the end of the day, I can grab 2 banner points right now because I have yet to end with battle line on either of those points so far this game. And also deny you 5 primary versus scoring my own 5 primary and 1 banner point on turn 5. It's just more valuable at the end of the day because there's no way in hell that you're letting me have this next turn. In fact, there's a very real chance that you end up putting this boat down on turn 5. Yep. Or at least move blocking him in some way. So we're just going to take the utility while we can get it now and hope that we get a little bit lucky on turn 5. Just to get the guaranteed value instead of just hoping against hope that things will work out better. So we'll get out over here. We will move our 6 inches for our Fire and Fade here, and we will get. Do I not get a foot on there? I thought I got a foot on this point. Anyway, we'll get within 3. I guess we won't. Okay, so we will get within 3 inches of all 3 of these units because of the way they're positioned and remove all of the OC of all of them, which makes this OC 0 on this point, despite Lucas having 3 different units on it, which is just a glorious thing.
That is pretty fucking hilarious. I do like that.
Yeah. So that was a good time. So these are all OC0. And then meanwhile, this friend over here, I think still has OC. He does survive, which is a massive bummer. The possessed who was in combat with the boat was wounded. He was down to two. There was definitely an argument to just stay in combat and try to shoot him down with the boat. But I figure, there's reasonable odds that we can put him down here. I think we may have even spent the 1 CP on +1 to wound because he had no friends. But at the end of the day, you can only do so much. And we'll flip over to top 5, and we'll flip over to Protector here to round things out, just to try and hold on to our home field for a minute here. What are we doing top 5?
Well, we're drawing Assassinate and Cleanse. So I cannot cleanse the middle because there's just going to be no C on that objective. The upper left, I could try to finagle a way to make that happen, but I'm just would rather kill your models. In the lower right, our cultists are going to get a 2 on cleanse. And then between the Talons and the Terminators shooting and charging, the Marshal is where that green blob is, kind of in the middle. So it should be pretty easy for our Terminators to engage that guy to guarantee a double swing. And then that should clean the clock of those guys, despite the -1 to hit from Protector. That's just too many attacks for a 10 Vanguard to handle.
Yeah.
So grab myself a nice and easy 5 on Assassinate. And then, those are all kind of pre-prescribed plays. The other things we're doing are just kind of like charging the things all over the place, so that if you draw some actions later on, putting my Rhino on the objective in the upper left, so that, assuming everything goes to plan, you won't get more than a 3 this turn on primary. So not too much else crazy going on here. The Talons charging into that Transuranic Arquebus. They'll be my first activation. The Terminators roll a 3, and I don't have the CP to reroll it. So they will get to swing on that Marshal when all is said and done to finish him off. And the heroic Rhino heading on in there. Sorry, I did have a CP, which I used for tank shock because I'm a Chad. Just roll well, dude. I roll 4 mortals and mow through those stupid Vanguard. Or no, not Vanguard. What are they called? Infiltrators.
You barely made that charge too. You hit a 3 on that as well.
Better lucky than good, baby.
What a bastard. But yeah, we'll put him down. Point of clarification, just to say, the OC is not the problem with the cleansing here. It's the you just wanted this unit to be involved, right? Because you were not holding this. You can just jump back if you wanted to cleanse, but you really do need both units to clear the Vanguard, and they'll just be worth more points because that's primary.
Yeah, I could have honestly sent the Possessed are so unlikely to flip your home, considering they have to revive and then probably reroll the charge, and then they won't all get to fight because of stuff. I should have sent them and the Terminators to kill the Vanguard, and then the Talons just cleanse the objective. That's guaranteed 2 points is almost certainly better than swingy 3 points. Good to look at that in hindsight, because that did not even occur to me until now.
Snap. We are out of film there. But yeah, very nice. And with everybody tagged here, there's basically nothing to do bottom 5. I'll draw a cleanse and area denial. Neither of those are happening because you have come in and tagged my boat here and you killed all of my infiltrators. That freaking possessed killed both and then tagged the boat. Jerk. So we're not even able to grab any other objectives here. The Rhino's there is 2 OC. It's just not getting out of there. We're in combat ever versus no actions. I chuck cleanse for marked for death. Wonderful. That's not happening either. So we won't score anything other than our 3 primary after falling back over here from the possessed bottom 5. And that's where we'll end up there, which brings us to 63 to 57, an 11-9 win for the Creations of Bile.
Good game, man.
Yeah, good stuff. Whew.
That was wild.
Yeah, I am not disappointed with that outcome at all. I think this is in general not a great matchup, though the more I play it, the more playable it's feeling. The primary at straight parity is probably fine. So with 2 full dead turns of secondary to only end up in an 11-9 situation, I don't know, I feel like this is pretty reasonable, all things considered.
Yep.
This situation's kind of annoying. This situation's kind of annoying, but at the end of the day, I feel like we both played this reasonable. Definitely a couple points of learning here. How are you feeling after the game?
Good overall. I really like this list. Obviously, I did roll the perfect set of buffs for those 5-man possessed, but I was massively impressed with them this game. They're just such. They're for the points you pay, they're so good at doing everything, right? They are pretty good at flipping an objective. They're pretty good at doing actions. They're pretty fast. They hit pretty hard. They require real commitment to remove. And I think I was very happy with their performance this game, and they're definitely the 2x5 are definitely staying in my list. I also like the Lord Legio combos, still kind of learning how to like tempo them out at the right speed. I did kind of like send all the possessed, and then in the second wave, I sent all the Legionaries and the Lords, and you were like, kill them all.
Hmm.
Like they are definitely markedly squishier than the possessed. And so I kind of need to learn how to tempo them out. Maybe the right call is to cut one unit of Legios, take another unit of Chosen to increase the reach of the list with Advance and Charge. Fallback and Charge is also really nice. Um, but overall, not unhappy with just the more MSU style. Overall, the play this game, I think there was definitely some improvements I could have made. I think on average, especially going first on Search and Destroy, I should expect like 12 to 13 points out of this. Maybe if you go first, I probably get like a 10, maybe an 11. Um, but yeah, the whole situation in the upper left was just kind of bungled. I think I probably could have flipped that primary one more time, and then in the lower half of the table, got pretty lucky, kind of on repeat there to clear you out. But that Rhino should have charged in. That would have been 3 points. I should have left those possessed in the middle of the table near that crate to move block. That's 5 points. Right, like there's a couple small things that my brain just automatically defaults to. Don't charge unless you need to. Don't move like don't block those crates because if he gets closer to you, it's good. Not necessarily at this point in the game, right? Like if one squad of Vanguard comes forward to flip the objective and sacrifices itself, that's totally a trade you're worth making. So I need to pay attention to that kind of stuff in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's tricky to have good fundamentals are important to have and to have all those heuristics, but especially when things get scrappy and you have the time, like to question every maneuver and make sure that that your instincts can still apply. It's not just what's good practice in general.
The Vanguard are such an interesting unit because unlike every other battle line unit, which is like, oh, sticky objectives, reroll onto wounds onto objectives, like honk shoe abilities like that, they just have something
Hmm.
very unique. And you get so used to them fire and fading out of their boat. They're like, okay, this is a unit with like a bunch of OC that shoots reasonably hard when combined with its boat. And then it's like, oh, it can also just like completely fuck my objective from, you know, from far away as well with the -1 OC.
Yeah.
Like that is just something I need to wrap my head around because I haven't played into it enough to really like internalize it. It's like, okay, it's an OC manipulation unit that also does some shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. They that fire and fade squad is the thing that is most often ending the game on my opponent's home field in more favored matchups, and they often get there with exactly that kind of maneuver where they seem really far away and then suddenly they hop out. My favorite thing is when they hop out of a boat, they advance over, and you're like, oh man, are you going to fire and fade? You're like, nope, advance and charge, baby, get them.
Sponge
But
them.
yeah, they're a really funny thing, and they mess with a lot of your preconceptions about what is and isn't a good way to take primary. Right? Like I can pretty comfortably charge them into most units, especially if protector's active, and just see I don't really care. You're not killing all 10 of my dudes through -1 to hit, and my 5 up invuln. I need one dude to survive because your OC 0 will be just fine. That's my objective. Damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a good time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, this has been our latest TTS StatRep. Tune in next time. I think we'll get some of these new orcs on the table, see if they're all they're cracked up to be.
Unfortunately.
Um, but yeah, so look forward to that. If you want to chat about this, we'll be in the comments and down below. And if you want to keep the conversation going, you can head on over to our Patreon Discord, linked in the description. If you're interested in getting a little bit more one-on-one assistance from either of us or any of the other stat check coaches, head over to stat-check.com/coaching. And let us know if there's other matchups that you'd like to see, especially from armies that you know we play with, because this is on TTS. We have everything. And we've got plenty of other people that can jump in as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Anything else you want to say, Lucas, before we sign off for the week?
Downloading witty response, downloading catchy remark, file not found. See you guys
Yeah,
later.
great stuff, man. All right, we'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone. Ciao.
Bye.